Parshas Vayashav is a very deep parsha. It's a lot of action, different episodes, a lot involved. One interesting occurrence in the parsha is the Ketonius Pasim, where Yaakov gives his son this special type of tunic or coat instead of any of the other sons. It's a lot to say on this topic. I'd like to quote an idea that Rav Zilberstein relates in Leinu Shabeach. One time, he was traveling on a bus from Yerushalayim to Bnei Brak, and there was a major traffic jam, major, and it was backed up. After the bus slowly moved through, they were able to see that there was a serious accident that occurred on the side. That's what caused the entire backup. There were people who were killed in that accident. People who were injured, killed. They were just laying there on the road. Fresh accident. Blood all over the place, etc. Some of the family members who were in the vehicles that were involved in the accident, some of them survived. And they were just looking there at their other family members next to them, crying. Before the bus passed through the traffic, you realized that the vehicle that was in the accident was a brand new vehicle. Looks like it just came off the assembly line. Brand new, nice, fancy car. So Zilberstein thought to himself, wow, imagine when that person brought home the new car to his house. The new fancy car. Imagine the happiness. But did he know that it was a vehicle that would lead to his death? A vehicle that would be filled with blood? It would never be able to be used again after the accident? Imagine the reaction of his friends or neighbors when they saw the brand new vehicle. They might have been jealous. Would they have been jealous if they would have known that it was a bomb? The vehicle was a bomb? The vehicle would lead to their death? Would they have known? If they would have known that this vehicle was going to kill its owners, they certainly wouldn't have been jealous. When Yaakov made for Yosef this type of Ketonius Pasim, this type of coat or tunic, his brothers were very jealous. But the Medrash teaches us the word Pasim, the four osios, the four letters of the word, Pasim, Pei, Samach, Yud, and Mem, allude to all of the difficulties that Yosef would undergo. He was sold to pay, Potiphar. The Samach and Pasim, Socher, merchants. The Yud and Pasim, Yishmaelim. And then the Mem is the Midyanim. This clothing represented the difficulties that Yosef would encounter. So what's the point of being jealous?
That's the Medrash.
Yeah. So what's the point of being jealous? What was the point of the brothers being jealous? They didn't realize what it would lead to. The whole chefsa, the whole object of this Ketonius Pasim, this tunic, was interwoven with all sorts of difficulties, hardships that Yosef would undergo, that would occur to him in the future. Why then should you be jealous for this? People that are jealous a lot of times, they don't even know what they're getting jealous about. They don't even know what they're looking at properly. And that's why they get jealous. You see an expensive garment that a person wears, another expensive item that a person has, but you don't know that it's filled with a pack of afflictions and difficulties that were decreed on the person who's going to wear it. You look at a nice shiny vehicle, You don't know what's going to happen. That could lead to his death. You look at a luxurious house, fancy house. You don't know what's going on over there. Between the marble, you don't know what's going on. Could be a bitter ending for that individual. The conclusion is it's never worthwhile to get jealous because you don't know what's going on under the hood. You don't know what the threads are really made of an expensive garment. Later on in the Parsha, we learn about the episode with the Sarah Ofen Ve'amashkim, which is typically translated as the cupbearer and the chief baker for Paro, officer of the bakers. The Meshech Chochmah asks a strong question over here. The Torah relates the story of the head of the bakers. Why? Why do we need to know? After all, Yosef was only sold because he properly interpreted the dreams of the cupbearer, the head of the Saramashkim, the head of all of the people who were involved with the beverages, etc., chief in command by Paro, and he revealed in front of Paro the identity of this dream interpreter, aka Yosef, who had tremendous wisdom when they were in jail together. Why then do we need to know the episode of the Sar HaOfim, of the head baker?
Oh.
That's the question that the Meshech Chochmah asks.
We need to know it because what's about he was an interpreter of dreams, both dreams.
I understand, but he was only saved from what? He was only saved because of
Sarmashkin.
yeah.
It's the temple part of the story.
Why? Who cares?
He interpreted his dreams. His dreams he can interpret it.
Granted, but at the end of the day, it was only the Saramashkim that got him out of jail free. Get out of jail free. Cupbearer did the show. Meshech Chochmah answers, the entire way that Yosef was saved through the cupbearer would have never came to fruition, would have never resulted had it not been for the head of the baker, the head baker, the Sar Ophim. Because when Yosef interpreted the dream of the Sar Hamashkim,
Sar Ophim knew it.
the cupbearer, right?
Right.
That's not a proof that Yosef had exceptional wisdom, godly wisdom. That's not a proof she'in navam v'chacham kamocha. There's no one as wise and understanding as you, as Paro testified about Yosef later on, because the dream of the cupbearer, Saramashkim, Yosef interpreted that it was going to be good. So one could claim Yosef didn't really know the interpretation of the dream. He just decided to guess. And he guessed that it would be good. And if he would make a mistake, he wouldn't have gotten punished, so to say, because he had a good interpretation. However, when Yosef courageously and bravely he suggested the interpretation of the Sar Ophim, the head of the bakers, and it was a negative interpretation, that's evident that we weren't just playing guess who over here. Yosef wasn't playing guessing games. He had Yediyah Mevureres. He knew with certainty that this is what would occur to the Sar Ophim, the head of the bakers. Because if he didn't know with certainty, why would he endanger himself by giving a negative dream interpretation? So therefore, from this, the cupbearer understood that Yosef is a godly and holy individual. And therefore, that's why the cupbearer mentioned Yosef to Paro. That's what the Meshech Chochmah says. But according to everything that we've been saying until now, we could add in Hashem already knew there was going to be an exile in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. Hashem knew about the Galus Mitzrayim. Hashem knew that Yosef would ascend on the other side of the coin. Hashem was already orchestrating. He was setting the stage, so to say, what would occur. Hashem already had in mind, I have to appoint the head of the bakers as a high position. I have to appoint this person as the head of the bakers, the Sar HaOfim. I have to cause that now he's going to sin, and that he's going to be thrown into prison, that Yosef will be there simultaneously, positively, and Yosef will positively interpret the dream in order that this little kid who's a foreigner, Hanar HaIvri, will give a negative dream interpretation, while simultaneously the cupbearer will see the greatness of Yosef and then remember him in front of Paro. You see all of the pieces of the puzzle? It's like a 2,000-piece puzzle over here. But listen to this point. We have to point out that when the Sar HaOfim, when he was appointed to his task, his position, it was a position that people were interested in. A lot of people must have gotten jealous with that position that he had. Like nowadays. Must have been, we'll come back to nowadays soon, that there were a lot of competitors for that position. It's a high position. And it must have been that when the Sar HaOfim finally was appointed as the head of the bakers, other people were very jealous. They wanted that position. And that's the idea over here. Now, how would you remove that jealousy from all the people who are jealous of that position? You simply come along and you whisper in their ears and you say that you know that his position is only going to lead to his downfall. He's going to end up in prison. And then he's going to get hung. Why don't you tell him that? That position is going to lead to his death. And all of this is just so that Yosef will be successful. Would you be jealous then? No. Because who cares that you got a good position if it's going to lead to your death? One time a person came to Zilberstein and he said there was a very honorable, well-paid position that I applied for. Many professionals also applied for this position, and also my neighbor did. I was much more qualified than my neighbor to get the position, and my neighbor ended up being chosen for the position. He said, this is bothering me inside. I'm just so jealous with this whole situation. This whole thing is so upsetting. How can I get rid of this jealousy? So Zilberstein tried calming him down in several ways, but he wouldn't go for it. He wouldn't go for it. He wouldn't get calmed down in any way. And he was very agitated about this. So this thirst for this power and position, and the jealousy was bubbling inside of him like a poison from a snake. But finally, Rav Zilberstein made the matter clear, and he said, look at what happened to the Sar HaOfim, the head baker. Look at him. Just calm down yourself. You think it's good for you? It's not. Praiseworthy is an individual who is ma'amin be'emunah shleima. He has complete belief that the jealousy is foolishness. And it's not worth a person's precious time in this world. Average person, 7 years, that's all. This is not worth it. Life is too short just to get jealousy for nothing. Dorshi Hashem lo yachzori kol tov. Those who seek Hashem, they won't be lacking anything. The idea is that jealousy is terrible. It's useless. Silberstein says in another place, it might be in Parshas Yisro. We discussed, we had a long piece over there. How is it possible not to get jealous? Because there's two prohibitions when it comes to jealousy. There is loy tesave and loy sachmoid. And the Chinuch explains that one of them is you get jealous of another person's object, and you force him to sell it to you, and then you get it. Or you buy it, you do the act, and you're only really buying it because you're jealous, not because it's just because of jealousy. That's the only reason you're getting it. The other one is actually just in your heart, you're not allowed to get jealous. So the obvious question is, how is it possible to control one's thoughts not to get jealous? So we went through around 7 different approaches to this question over there in Parshas Yisro. One of them is that Rav Zilberstein says, when you get jealous, you have to get jealous of the entire package. In other words, don't just get, and this is Lishitasa over here, what he's saying. This is going according to what he's saying over here. Don't just say, all right, I'm going to now get jealous because of the house, the private jet, the yacht, the vehicle, whatever it is, the position. You have to get jealous of the entire package, everything that comes from it. That's what it comes to. So, yeah, but it was edited. So that's one idea how it's possible not to get jealous, which I think is a very practical idea nowadays to that talks to everyone. It's got to be literally the entire package.
So we're saying that Los Sasava is the whole package of getting jealous? Or that's how just the way...
No, that's the way not to get jealous at all, even on a thought. Because
the not going between Los Sasava and Lo...
One is the action of you acquiring it.
The action.
One is just the thought of having it.
Right. So then,
yeah.
How do you...
That's how you get out of your thoughts. Because when you're thinking you want that, just think about you want that. Okay, you also want the sicknesses that the person has. You want everything else that he goes through.
That's gonna, if it's all one thought, then you're not gonna be
exactly, because then you're gonna say it's just not worth it.
It's only about the Zara and the riots that you're over on thoughts.
No, over here you could look up the Chinuch where he says that in both places. He actually Zilberstein actually relates that he says, yeah, that's exactly what he says. You have to be jealous of everything that he has. That's what he says. If you don't know where that is, it's in Alein L'Shabeach Ambratius, pages 79 to 81. So he talks about that in another place. Yeah.
Must be here.
No. Earlier, way earlier. Look, there's a lot of different answers to this question. But I just want to go through some important points on jealousy over here. The Gemara in Yuma says on Kaf Tes that Rehuya Areira is Kashem Avreira. I like talking about this Gemara because no one really talks about it. One of the most fundamental Gemaras out there. Literally. If you have to summarize, if you could ask which are the most 4 important words in Shas, I think that this is up there. According to my humble opinion. This cryptic line that the Gemara says, Zerhuri Avera, Kashu Me Avera. The thoughts of sinning is worse than a sin. If you would ask 1,000 people, is it worse to murder someone or think about murdering someone? Murder. Everyone would say, what do you mean, the murder? In a court of law, there's no question, when you murder someone, that's it, your life is over. You're not you're either gonna get a death penalty or you're gonna stay in jail. You murder someone. Depends on the type of murder and all the details that are involved in the secular court of law. The Gemara is saying that the thought of sinning is worse than the sin. Someone was involved with other sins. What is the explanation of this Gemara? Thoughts worse than sinning. The whole Chayvas Halavavos is all based on a person's thoughts. What's a person thinking about? You have a lot of people nowadays. Baruch Hashem, they go to shul 3 times a day and everything. Where's their head when they're in shul? You have people, they sit and learn in the base measures. Where's their head when they're learning? How much are they spacing out? How much are they thinking about other activities that has nothing to do with Torah? How much are they schmoozing with their charusa? How much are they just scrolling on their phone? Are they actually there? When a person's actually davening, is he actually thinking about davening? So let's say Baruch Hashem, he comes on time and he's going to say every word of Psukkah de Zimmer. By the way, you should know I haven't skipped a word of Psukkah de Zimmer in 20 years, including Shabbos Yantif. Not skipped one word. So a person saying all the words, is he spacing out during Psukkah de Zimmer? Is he thinking about the meaning of the words? When was the last time that average person, does he think about the first bracha of Shema? Does he even know the translation? What's going on in the first bracha? Do you know the first bracha of Shema is the longest bracha that we have anywhere? Yoitzer or? How often does a person think, wow, Baruch Hashem, we have a sun. The sun shines, and now we can live because we have a sun. You know what would happen if the sun wouldn't shine? Wouldn't be cold, we'd be dead. We'd have no food, we would have nothing. You need the sun. That's the first bracha of Shema. How many people think about it? Ma Rabu Masecha Hashem. How many people stop, just look at clouds once in a while, look at the sun, look at the trees, the leaves falling off, growth when the spring comes, different animals, insects. Say, wow, Hashem, it's crazy what you've done over here. The Anuf Yosef explains by means of an analogy. He says we are accountable. How would it be? How could it be that we're accountable for our thoughts? No. Answers the Anuf Yosef, we're not. We know that a forest fire doesn't start that way. It started from one match. That's it. One match smaller than the size of my pinky. That's it. And then it went out of control. When a person has a bad thought and it comes into his head quickly, it's in our responsibility to extinguish that thought immediately. And that is within our capabilities. That's not what the Gemara means when it says that the bad thought is worse than the sin. That thought came in ba'oinus. It's extenuating circumstance. It's out of our control. However, when we let that improper thought blossom, evolve, and turn into that forest fire, that's when we're held accountable. And that's when it's worse than the actual sin. Because when a person sins, that murder was great, it was so enjoyable, I got it off my chest. Guess what? If he doesn't get caught, what's going to happen later? He doesn't get caught. He gets away. It was a successful murder. He covered everything up. No evidence. He got out. Now what? What's he going to do later on? He's going to go for round 2. That was great. Now I could relax for a month. And then he's going to go for number 3 and he's going to keep going. When a person has the thought, he's always going to keep sinning. Once a person sinned, at least now he's content because he already sinned. I got to eat that not kosher food. Okay, so he ate. Now he's not going to eat 2 minutes later. He's full. But if you have a thought to continually do that, he's going to keep going back.
going back. That's what
So the thought is worse than the sin, because at least when he did the sin,
it's over.
it's finished. It's over. But the thought, he keeps going. That's this idea over here. We got to make sure that our thoughts are clean. That's the idea over here. We're talking about jealousy. We're not going through all the other 7 ways how it's possible not to get jealous. We already did that, Parshas Vayashav. There's jealousy, which could also be positive jealousy. When people hear the word jealousy, they think, oh, it's all negative. It's not true. Exactly. Kinos soifrim tarba chachma. The Gemara in Baba Basra on Chaf Aleph says, when we get jealous because people know more Torah than we know, when people are learning and they're enjoying their learning and they have a lot of desire to learn, do more mitzvahs, daven better, serve Hashem better, they're just involved with good deeds, kindness of different sorts, chesed. Anything under that category, that's excellent to get jealous about. The Orchos Sadikim actually elaborates on this in Perek Yudalid. That's what he said. That's the good type of jealousy. Anyone who is doing any sort of mitzvah. We got to make sure that our thoughts are clean, though. That's the trick. Got to make sure that our thoughts are clean. It's other forms of jealousy, which are so you see this idea of jealousy, that it could go 2 ways over here. It could either be good or it could either be bad. We have to make sure that they're good. I want to just share one quick other idea which really stuck with me. From the Alin L'Shabeach. I went through every single piece in this week's parsha. I just made a conclusion. I'm just gonna do a different sefer every single year, go through every single piece. So last year I did Rabbi Galinsky. This year I'm gonna do Rav Zilberstein and his Alin L'Shabeach. It says Lasois Melachaso, that Yosef went into the house. This is unrelated. He went into the house to do his work. And we know the story with Eshes Potiphar, who tried to frame Yosef, that he tried to basically violate her. Look at the strength of Torah over here. Look at the punishment also. It says in Sefer Yonah, beginning of the Sefer, the 8th pasuk, the sailors, they figured out that the crazy storm, which was life-threatening, was happening because of Yonah. So they asked him. Pasuk over here says, Lasos Melachos. So they asked him. Sefer Yonah, it says, Ma malach tacha, what is your job? What do you do? What's Yosef's response?
Yonah.
What? Yonah's response. What's Yonah's response? Ivrei Nochi. And there's a whole song about that. Okay. I'm a Yid. That's my job. Yeah. People ask me sometimes, what do you do? What do you mean? Serve Hashem.
It says, what do you do? You're supposed to say, not, Malach is supposed to say, I'm a Jew.
I'm a Jew. What do you do? I'm a Jew.
Says, I'm a Jew.
The question is,
it's coming from the Yore.
Why? They're schmoozing with them now. They're on, their life is getting threatened, and they're saying, yo, no. Small talk, chit chat. What's your job, by the way? What are your hours? What do you do? What type of question is this? What do you do? Good question. Let's say he was a tailor. Let's say he was a carpenter. Let's say he was a farmer. I mean, who cares? What's the relevance? Would that change the situation for the better? Knowing Yonah's job? These sailors, they knew that there are people who do not do their job properly. They're not honest. They're not straight. They try to outsmart their employer, their boss. And they lie. They do things that are deceitful. They were concerned that maybe Yonah was under this umbrella. Yonah was part of this club who did his job in a dishonest manner. And they were worried that since if Yonah was stumbled in this regard, this would cause the entire ship to sink. It was a punishment. This is what they were concerned about. So their intention when they asked Yonah, what is your job? They wanted to clarify, not what type of job do you do, but are you honest? Are you honest in business? It's one of the questions they're going to ask us when we go to Shemayim, when we send. Are you honest with your job as an employee, as an employer, as an entrepreneur? Were you honest or not? That's what they were trying to figure out. This is the question that we need to ask ourselves. Are we honest? Every single job that a person is involved with, it needs to be done in an honest manner. The tailor, the electrician, the businessman, the carpenter, the builder, and the guy who's learning kollel, also the avrich. You got to be honest. Coming on time, it's a big thing. Nowadays, did you ask your employer if you could be on your phone and your computer just checking your emails or other activities for 45 minutes a day? Did you add up all the time? Did you ask? Are you getting paid by the hour? Are you getting paid by the job? Did you ask? What type of job do you have? How's your attendance? Are you coming late? But you're not staying late? You're leaving early? Coming late but leaving on time? Coming on time but leaving early? All these questions. Does your employer care? Maybe he doesn't care. Just have a conversation with him. Maybe he doesn't care. Are you trying to cut corners? Different tactics? Trying to do things illegally? Financially? You have to ask yourself. Honest with business. One of my chavrusas a few weeks ago just got back from a convention in Cleveland, Ohio. They flew in numerous rabbis from New York, Chicago, other areas. They meet in different places. They have an annual convention about integrity and honest when conducting business. It's not just, you don't need to be a businessman. An employee also. Honest things that are happening in business. All these types of things, like we just said, they'll have to be clarified. That's what they were asking Yonah. Even these people, they weren't Jewish at all, these sailors. They said something, we're sailors, we do this for a living. Something is completely abnormal about this storm. It must be that God's involved. Something is just above and beyond. To that they asked Yonah, what's going on here? Is it the business? To that Yonah responded, no, because I ran away. I shouldn't have ran away. Hashem told me to give my prophecy, which is a whole discussion in of itself, why someone great like Yonah would run away. There's many ways of judging him favorably. Not enough time for now, though. And it was actually difficult for him to go away. Hard decision. Worked his whole life for prophecy. Now he thought at least that he wasn't going to be getting prophecy. Anyways, those I thought were some very relevant messages that had to do with the Parsha. This whole Malacha thing, last 6-7 minutes, didn't really have to do much with the Parsha, but I thought it was a beautiful idea that talks about the integrity in business. One last point that I just realized, Yaakov. Yaakov was the wealthiest. All of the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they all had a lot of money. Yaakov had the most. One explanation is because he inherited from 2 generations. Another explanation is because he was honest when he worked for Lavan, who was a massive trickster. Honest in business, you'll get rewarded.
Lost all of it, but then he made it all back.
Yeah, fine. That's already something else. That whole episode would leave it. But you're honest with business, even with tricksters, you'll get it back. It's one explanation. There's a little bit quote said, and it's also in the Otzer Pelayos Atayir I saw.
Right, in Navar Tishtabar, but in Naval Titavel.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be, it's a trickster, you're allowed to.
He went above and beyond. He got rewarded above and beyond.
Okay.
You see, you try to cut corners, you think you're gonna make it, you ain't gonna make it. You do what you're supposed to, that's how you'll make it.
Okay.
You can't make this happen.